Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. And yeah, this has been interesting over the last couple of weeks. I haven't been doing a lot of these reviews. Last week I only did one. I only did the Raw review. And I didn't do. I watched the other shows. I just didn't do reviews for them. In that sense, and I'm going to do a weekend preview for next week. That's going to kind of explain a little bit more of what's going to happen with Survivor Series, everything in that sense, in the terms of everything, because I've got a very busy work week next week to go along with it. So it kind of is what it is at this point. But this time around, we're going to talk about Raw, Smackdown, and NXT all one big show. All one big show instead of everything. I feel like changes sometimes need to be made in the way I do things, and this is one of those. This is one of those times, and one of those changes I'm going to be going with in that sense. So it's one of those things that, like, you feel maybe a little less motivated. A change is needed. I changed up my thumbnails, everything in that sense as well, and we're going to try to go back to the old style of just a Raw review, a Smackdown review, and an NXT review, all in separate videos at a different time. Maybe next week if I can. It just all depends on how everything ends up playing. So let's go ahead and get started right into it with Monday Night Raw for November 6th, 2017. Honestly, I felt like this was a not a big show, but, well, it kind of was a big show because we had a lot of changes throughout this entire week in the Survivor Series card, and you got one of those changes here in this particular show as well. So they started off with Miz TV. Miz basically gives a message off to Baron Corbin, almost to the same exact way that he did on his Twitter promo, but minus the fact that he did not drop the F-bomb on live TV. He brings up Kurt Angle to be the guest for Miz TV. Miz berates the crap out of Kurt for everything, like everything Braun had done the week before to him. Why is Braun getting rewarded and not getting disciplinary actions or anything in that sense? And Kurt Angle basically just says, like, I need somebody on my team like him. So yeah, I'm going to put him on the team. And to get him on the team, I only have to do one thing. Put him in a match with you. Which is what they got. Which is what you got. Miz, of course, giving this, like, befuddled look, is like, please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. Type thing. And I thought it was a pretty good, effective segment. So, up next was Elias going up against Jason Jordan in a guitar on a pole match. We'll just leave it at that. The match was fine. I'm not a big fan of anything on a pool matches to go along with it, but this match was okay. And they did play off of the rules of instead of getting a pinfall or submission, you had to get the object and hit the person with it in order to win the match. So I guess that was a little bit better. The match went by relatively quickly, too. Jason Jordan picks up the victory after they fight over the guitar for a little bit, and then he eventually hits Elias in the back with it. Up next, though, you had Cesaro and Sheamus backstage with Kurt Angle, and they set up this tag team title match where initially they were kind of trying to butter him up and trying to say, oh, we don't think Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are good enough to be representing Raw for the tag team titles, everything in that sense. But Kurt eventually is like, why are you trying to just suck up? Just ask you want to be part of Team Raw or represent Team Raw as the tag team champions. I'm going to give you one last shot at the tag team titles tonight. So, decent enough segment, setting up your main event for the night. Up next was Asuka going up against Stacey Coates. And this is basically another squash match for Asuka. The most interesting note of this match is crowd pretty much not into it. I feel like it was because they knew a squash match was coming and they really didn't want to just be part of a squash match. or something in that sense. I mean, you even got a "Let's Go Jobber" chant, everything in that sense to go along with it. I don't think this does anything to hurt Asuka by any stretch of the imagination. I just felt like that crowd just was like, yeah, we don't really want to care about a squash match all that much. After the match, Alicia Fox comes up on the Titantron, says Asuka's going to be on Team Raw. Well, unless they decide to go with the crazy route and ending Asuka's undefeated streak, I think Team Raw wins. Team Raw wins that one now. On that side of everything. So, yeah. So that'll be interesting. I guess they could also do a whole count out or disqualification type thing to keep the whole aspect that she hasn't been pinned or submitted or anything else on that side. That's how they could get her out of the match or something in that sense. I don't know where they're going to go with that one. But having Asuka on the team kind of almost makes it feel like a definitive that Team Raw wins the women's Survivor Series style match. And up next, you had a Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews interview, mostly Titus, basically going over the actions of what happened with them and Samoa Joe the week before. Titus is going to challenge Samoa Joe now, and that he was going to get some revenge over everything, which of course he's not going to get revenge, because when they come out, Titus and Apollo Crews just get attacked by Samoa Joe. Joe's having none of it. He comes out there, takes him out, says he's not done with it, with a fight for the night, and challenges anyone to come out. And lo and behold, guess who is challenging everybody now? Just answering all open challenges, and that's going to be Finn Balor. And I'm not going to complain about that one. I'm not going to complain about that one at all, mostly due to the fact that I like the Finn Balor Samoa Joe matches. They put on another good match here. Does end in double countout, which, you know, it's not necessarily the best finish, but it got what they needed to do across, which was getting Samoa Joe and Finn Balor both on the Raw team. And that was basically, both of them are brawling after the match, and he said, and Kurt comes out, and was like, I need that fire on my team. Both of you on. You're both on the team now to go along with it. And it's like you both of them just had to have a stare down. And eventually, Finn Balor does launch himself on Joe again to go along with it. Good stuff. I like this one. I'm not going to lie to you. I like this. I thought it was good. And actually, I thought a good chunk of the show was, a good portion of the show was relatively entertaining. I thought it was not very, I thought it was a pretty good Raw overall. Up next, you have Bo Dallas backstage. He was pep talking The Miz about his match with Braun Strowman. Curtis Axel is suggesting that they run, which is a good suggestion. Let's not lie. Let's not lie, people. That is a very good suggestion when you're going up against Braun Strowman, is just run. Miz is not having any of it. He is worried, but he is not on the aspect of wanting to run away from Braun Strowman. He was going to face him here tonight. So after this, you had Kurt Angle backstage again with Jason Jordan, and they used some interesting words in this one. So Kurt basically says he needs someone on his team he can trust, and who better to trust than family. So he puts Jason Jordan on the team, you know, ending his team as well. He's got 5 people now. I love, one, Booker T's reaction. He's like, he just grabs a piece of paper and he just throws it. It's like, really? We're going with this? You're really gonna, it's like he was trying to say, it's like, this is a horrible decision, bad decision. Corey's defending the decision. I love the interactions between Corey and Booker and Michael Cole. Like, all 3 of them are pretty good together. I do actually like that commentary team. I do like that commentary team setup and everything in that sense. Corey seems to have very good chemistry with most of the commentators in general. So if they ever go back to like a 2-person booth, I think Corey needs to kind of be there on that sense of everything. Up next, though, was, this was an interview segment and led into the match right afterwards. You have Bayley and Sasha Banks interview backstage, talking about how they wanted to be on Team Raw, and this was actually mostly handled by Bayley. And I think in the terms of her main roster side now, I think her promo skills are finally coming back a little bit. I mean, she was never the greatest promo in NXT, but it felt natural when she was saying things down in NXT. But it never really felt that way, with the exception of maybe one or two particular promos coming up here. And this is one of those promos that actually she sounded good. It came out naturally. It felt like, okay, this is what she would actually want to say. Everything in that sense about them talking about wanting to be on Team Raw, everything to go along with it. I thought it was a good promo. I thought this was actually a fairly good promo, and this led into Bayley and Sasha Banks going up against Nia Jax and Alicia Fox. And this match again was given a lot of time. It was given a good chunk of time. It was a good match as well, setting up everything. You had a lot of the bits where, you know, Nia was working over Bayley, everything in that sense. I thought it was a hey, Batman. That's an interesting one. I don't think she needs to be a heel. Though I think they're going to do something that kind of maybe leads her to be face, but become more aggressive to go along with it. And we'll see how that one ends up playing out, because talking about this one, the match ends with Bayley and Sasha Banks winning the match with the aspect of Sasha Banks tapping out Alicia Fox, which gets Alicia on the mic and saying that she wants Sasha Banks on the team, conveniently leaving Bayley's name out of it, in that sense, probably leading up to something next week, in that side of it. And I do like the aspect of the befuddled look that Bayley gave to go along with it. So Sasha's on the team, but Bayley's not on the team, and it could lead to some kind of a heel thing, or it could lead to a more aggressive Bayley in some way, shape, or form. Maybe this kind of prompts her to start becoming more aggressive and everything in that sense. Kind of where she was when she left NXT. She was a more aggressive, but still massively babyface to go along with it on that side of it. And honestly, I think that's where most people probably prefer Bayley to be, is the more aggressive, but still the babyface. It's still hard to take that character and make her a heel at this point in time. I feel like they would have to change the entire character in general. Maybe they will. Who knows? We'll see where they go with it on that side of it. So up next was that not a Seth Rollins? That interview is next after the Braun Strowman Miz match. So the Braun Strowman Miz match was it was pretty much dominated mostly by Braun Strowman. This does eventually lead into kind of a no contest. Miz kind of running around there trying to get everything going on that side of it. But eventually Kane comes out and basically ends the match. Braun Strowman and Kane start brawling all over the place. And Strowman kind of gets the advantage and gets rid of Kane. And then gets attacked by Miz, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel to finish it off. And basically he's saying, hey, look, Braun's kind of in both of these programs right now. At this point, he's got this thing with Kane where he does the running power slam, and Kane sits up from it. Not a bad little spot there. But like I said, Strowman does gain the advantage and gets Kane to basically leave, or knocks Kane out of the ring, and he leaves from there as Miz and Dallas basically get destroyed by Braun Strowman, where Strowman hits the power slam to finish off. So basically Strowman gets the upper hand on that side of everything. I thought it was good for what it needed to be. I definitely thought it was good for what it needed to be. It kept people strong on all sides, and it leads to an interesting match somewhere down the line with Kane and Braun Strowman, and it seems like it's going to continue on a feud between The Miz and Strowman to go along with it, so we'll see how that one ends up playing off. Up next, though, you had a Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose interview. Kind of standard fare. Not a bad promo by any stretch of the imagination, but standard fare, talking about their tag team title match for later on in the evening, but nothing really to write home about on that one. So, this leads to a very interesting one. And by a very interesting one, Enzo comes out for a promo. Enzo came out for a promo on this one. And he's basically talking about who's next, everything in that sense. And this promo goes on forever and a day with this one. He was trying to build up as much heat as possible and almost kind of becoming redundant and talking about how Kalisto, he's going to beat Kalisto at the pay-per-view, everything in that sense. And it was definitely one of those that they were trying to get heat on Enzo. And I think it worked because most of these fans were just like, why is this still going? Why is this still going? Eventually Kalisto comes out and it looks like he was going to confront him, but he just goes back outside, grabs a chair and sits down as they go to commercial break. When they come back from commercial break, no, let's not get this wrong. They botched this, but I am absolutely loving this little bit here. Out of nowhere, Pete Dunne's music hits. Place goes nuts for it. But Kurt Angle comes out, which makes me think that Kurt Angle's supposed to come out beforehand and announce Pete Dunne. But he comes out, announces Pete Dunne, and Pete Dunne comes out again to another massive pop. And the factor that Pete Dunne was there was just amazing. I thought it was great. I like Pete Dunne. In the terms of his heel work, everything in that sense, I like how he works and everything to go along with this one. Obviously playing the babyface role here because Enzo's, well, he's the heel to go along with it. And he was going to get the massive babyface pop anyway, being in the UK in that sense. And Pete Dunne just goes out there and destroys Enzo. Enzo gets some offense in, but it was pretty much a Pete Dunne match. Pete Dunne goes over with with his finish. Oh, I forget the name of the finish off the top of my head, but it's the pump handle into flatliner. It's a great looking move. It's a great looking move. I forget what the name of it is off the top of my head because I haven't seen Pete Dunne that much. So the name of his finisher is kind of out of there. Don't worry, I will learn it though. I like Pete Dunne. So up next after all this was Alexa Bliss with a quick interview backstage, basically talking about what she was going to do to Natalya for Survivor Series, and yeah, that was pretty much all that was. There wasn't really much to talk about it. Saying, her basically saying she's the goddess, everything, and that's all that side to play up with everything. So this leads into the main event of the night. Cesaro and Sheamus going up against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. This was a fun match. Let's be honest with you guys. These two teams do not put on bad matches. And they put on another very good match here. In that sense of it. No spots that you had not really seen before between them. But just, again, fun match to watch going through everything. They're getting towards the end of the match. And then, out of nowhere, though it does kind of break a little bit of kayfabe in this sense, but out of nowhere, Big E goes on the microphone and starts doing the New Day shtick. And they come out through the crowd. So, you get this long, I won't say long, but you get this extended promo from the New Day saying, it's like, oh, everything's going to be under siege again. It's going to, Kurt grabs everybody from backstage, and they're making their way out to the ring. Like you had, you had Joe out there, you had Finn out there. Like you pretty much had everybody out there. It's like, okay, where are they going to be? They're surrounding the ring and everything in that sense. And then New Day is like, psych, and they were out to go along with it. But throughout this entire time, guess what? Match never officially ended. So Seth Rollins turns around, hits a bro kick, 1, 2, 3, as Dean Ambrose trying to make the save, as Cesaro stops them, and you have new tag team champions. And guess what? That means a change in the Survivor Series matchups. And let's be 100% honest on this one. What we're going to probably get out of this is going to be another match. To go along with it, a 6-man match. With the Shield, because it was announced that Roman Reigns is going to be back next week. So he's going to be back from his illness, everything in that sense. So we're going to have the Shield and the New Day. Who doesn't want that in that sense of it? And now we're going to get Cesaro and Sheamus going up against the Usos. Now people say it's all heel versus heel. That's really heel versus tweener. If you've seen how the Usos are, they're kind of more the tweeners. than they are the heels right now. They were heels for a while, but now they kind of, like, after their bit with the New Day and their promo afterwards, they are kind of more on the tweener side. They, they're super aggressive, like a typical heel would be, and maybe cheat a little bit. But they also have this aspect that they win their matches, for the most part, clean. In that sense of it. So now we have the potential for Cesaro and Sheamus against the Usos, and I am expecting next week that they announce that the Shield is going to go up against the New Day, and I want that match. I definitely want that match. So let's head on to SmackDown. Let's head on to SmackDown here, and guess what? Those changes that we were talking about beforehand, we're continuing on here, and we had some big things happen on SmackDown, and especially changes to a big match in general with SmackDown to go along with it. Now, granted, yes, there were spoilers because this was being filmed over in the UK, so people knew beforehand going into the actual show itself what was about to happen. But I kind of like the change with what they went with here. But before we get into that, we need to kind of, we'll go into this and go into the actual beginning of the show. So this one needs to be brought up now, because there's been some news, and there's been some confirmations with this news as well, that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and this doesn't feel worked now. Like, initially when I saw this one, I felt like, oh, this seems like a work. But now with extra reports coming out, it makes it feel like it's not a work. So the report is that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have both been sent home. Not just as in the term of home from the UK, the UK and every European portion of the tour. They're not going to be on the rest of the tour. And the reasons behind it is, like, initially it's like, oh, disciplinary reasons. Well, I mean, at the beginning of the show, they were basically running down Shane McMahon, everything in that sense. So they were going to get sent home because it was kayfabe reasons. But more reports started coming out that it was because it was something that was said or confirmed, or not confirmed, but it was accepted by Vince that they were being sent home for potentially going into business for themselves. And it was not during any of the promos throughout the night, and it was actually at the end of the match with Kofi Kingston and Sami Zayn. So this is how the match itself I thought was good in that sense, and it ended relatively where they thought, I guess, it was supposed to end that way, where Kofi wins with a crossbody. But after the match, Kevin Owens comes in, which was also supposed to happen. He starts attacking Kofi Kingston. But apparently, both of them were supposed to stay in the ring, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and they were going to get chased off and beaten up a bit by the New Day. But as it was happening, the New Day comes in, and Owens and Zayn just leave. So it wasn't leaving like a big potential babyface pop for New Day or something in that sense. In the promo with Shane and the New Day and everything on that sense was actually a very good promo. I thought it came off really good. Zayn and Owens basically doing their normal shtick of favoritism, everything in that sense. Everybody's against us. On that side, but that's how they make the match with Kofi and Sami Zayn. Now, this can be taken multiple ways here. The reason why they're being sent home is potentially for that ending where they don't stay in the ring and get beaten up on that side of it. Now, there's been reports apparently coming out, I think it was Sports Illustrated reporting, that apparently Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are becoming very hard to deal with backstage, in that sense, and it kind of stems off the whole aspect of what happened with Neville and was it Jimmy Jacobs, one of the writing team people, who are two people that have recently left, and apparently they've becoming a little bit harder to work with backstage, and maybe they're unhappy. maybe leading into this. But also, you could probably take this as an aspect of maybe miscommunication on that side of everything as well. There's multiple ways to take this one, but the initial reason they're being sent home because of potential going into business for themselves, which could lead to an aspect of is like, okay, they're home. I mean, they could be back next Tuesday and everything's kind of sorted out, which is probably what I'm thinking is going to happen. Or there's a potential chance that they just don't come back, or something to go along with it. In that sense of everything. But it's definitely an interesting thing to come up. And if you really think about it again, even though nothing really came of it the first time, they were just in the Brazil area, and Kevin Owens had been sent home from that as well. So that kind of brings up the aspect that 2 overseas tours, and Kevin Owens is kind of, and this time Sami Zayn to go along with it, has been sent home. And it leads to an interesting development of where things are going on that side of everything. And we'll see how everything plays out, because a lot of people were kind of expecting one or two things to happen here. That either next week Kevin Owens was going to be named the 5th member for that. This kind of gives a little bit of a spoiler for a match later on here again on that side of it, which I'll talk about here in a moment. Or they were going to cost Team Smackdown in some way, shape, or form at the Survivor Series pay-per-view. That both of them were there. But if it's because of unprofessional conduct, more than likely that's going to be taken away. We'll see how everything plays off on that side of it. But it's definitely an interesting development that's going along with everything. And that kind of talks about both the match and that promo to go along with it. So, up next, though, was a Jinder Mahal interview, basically talking about his match for AJ Styles later on in the evening. And this is one of those promos, I thought it came off as a relatively good promo, but you could definitely tell there was what is the term that people, the going in Raw guys use? Loose face. They use that term, and you could definitely tell there was a little bit of that in this match. Though I liked the promo. I liked how he was talking about how he was going to. He talked about being in a restaurant. He said that the appetizer needs to be called AJ Styles, because that's what he is he's going to be the appetizer for me going into this match with Brock Lesnar. I thought the promo was good. AJ Styles did have a promo later on in the night as well, basically talking about the match with Jinder Mahal as well, which I thought was also a good promo, which we'll talk about that match because that was the main event of the night. Up next, and this one just also has some interesting developments to go along with it. You had another promo for the Bludgeon Brothers, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan. Basic usual stuff, but apparently, and this one happened a little bit before I went on air today. Apparently, maybe that gimmick is already being dropped, because they have been showing up on the UK tour or the European tour as that with their new stuff, everything in that sense. But apparently now or at least for one night, they came out in their Luke Harper, Eric Rowan stuff and were called Luke Harper and Eric Rowan and not the Bludgeon Brothers. So there's a potential, and that one's not confirmed or anything in that sense. We'll go off and say that. That one's not confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. But it's definitely an interesting development that they, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, we come out in our normal Luke Harper, Eric Rowan stuff, and we're just going to be called that. We're not going to be the Bludgeon Brothers. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays off, and if they continue on with anything with that one. Up next, though, was Rusev going up against Randy Orton. So the aspect behind this was initially that Rusev was supposed to face AJ Styles for a shot on the Survivor Series, tag team, 5-on-5 tag team match. But now with AJ Styles in the main event for the WWE title, Rusev still had his opportunity to get on the team, but he had to beat Randy Orton. And you know what? This was a good match. I'm disappointed, though, that Rusev didn't win this one. Yes, Randy Orton did win this match with an RKO to go along with it. Like, I feel if they don't go the route of Jason Jordan turning on Kurt Angle, and I guess they could do lots of, like, overbooking and everything and still have Team Raw win or something like that. Like, they have this potential for a lot of, like, backlash in the Survivor Series tag team match, where, like, maybe Rusev comes out and cost them a team member or something in that sense, or if the reports with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are kind of minimalized to what they are, what I think they could be, and they're not like massive issues. Owens and Zayn will probably get involved in that match as well. But now you have the aspect of Rusev also. It's like, oh, I'm not on the team. I don't feel like I was given a fair shake. Matter of fact, I think he did like an online promo saying that he didn't feel like he was given a fair shake. He was getting ready for AJ, but now he had to face Randy Orton on that side of it. And it leads to a very interesting side of everything. But it also left one person for the Survivor Series tag team match, which got filled the next day. And apparently it's John Cena. Well, then there was a lot of talk going along that Cena was going to be the guest referee for the tag team match, or not the tag team match, but for the main event match, which at this point in time was Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal. But now he's going to be on the Survivor Series, and the Survivor Series tag team match, so that takes him out of being the guest referee for that particular match. Which, like I said, we're going to talk about that one. We're going to talk about that main event here very soon. Up next was a promo backstage with James Ellsworth. He was standing in front of the women's locker room. Tamina comes out. It's like, I need to talk to Carmella. So it's like, oh, Tamina walks in, and Becky Lynch comes out. And this was leading to their match this promo was basically leading into the match with Ellsworth and Becky Lynch later on in the night. Or which was next, in that sense. Ellsworth, he was doing the typical male chauvinistic type thing. A rematch with Roman and Cena. That could be a possibility, but I think Survivor Series is going to definitely be New Day and the Shield on that side. I am doing this live, so I'm kind of looking at the chat to go along with this, so that's why I kind of look off camera a lot to go along with everything. But Ellsworth, he was doing pretty much a lot of your typical almost like male chauvinistics, like men are better than women, everything in that sense. He even goes off and says, is like the only reason why he goes off to a point of saying that the only reason why Carmella is in the ring and competing is because that's what she likes to do, and he'll do anything for her on that side to go along with it. And it was an interesting promo. Becky basically just is like, that's some ballsy comments. Funny from somebody who has no balls to go along with it, and just walks off. I thought it was good stuff. I thought it was good in the sense of setting up Ellsworth as the massive heel and Becky as like the big baby face, everything in that sense, going into this particular match. Because this is definitely an interesting match for WWE, because they haven't really done intergender stuff in a long time. They really hadn't done any intergender stuff in a very, very long time in the terms of like matches or segments in general, in the terms of where a man might attack a woman or something in that sense. They kind of shied away from it because they were going about that one. Now, the match itself with Becky Lynch and James Ellsworth was they went further than I thought they were going to. It was a little bit more comedy style, everything in that sense. They definitely went without striking. There was pretty much no striking in the match. Though Becky Lynch did get a missile drop kickoff in the match itself, but for the most part, outside of the shoves that James Ellsworth did, it was pretty much wrestling. And it wasn't like, oh, Becky Lynch can... it wasn't like the aspect of that Ellsworth didn't get any kind of advantage. They did find subtle ways for him to get a slight advantage, like Becky Lynch trying to run in, charge him at the corner. He moves. Or something in that sense. Like, they didn't go full Lucha Underground on this one. And if you've watched any of Lucha Underground, they do have that male versus female side of everything. And they go completely all out with it as well. Like, the men strike the women strike the men, everything to go along with that. They didn't go that route here. I think Becky Lynch got shoved a couple times, and that was about as far as they went with it on that side. Otherwise, it was pretty much... It was kind of a comedy match to go along with it, like Becky Lynch taking advantage in the match, and doing like a couple little comedy spots to go along with it. And eventually it leads to the end where Becky Lynch gets the Bexploder, and Ellsworth's trying to leave. All the other women backs were out there to go along with it, get him back into the ring. He's trying to be contrite and everything in that sense and apologize, and this eventually just leads to Becky Lynch hitting the disarmer, or as the commentators are going about it as well, to disarm him in this case, and Becky Lynch picking up the victory. Which I thought, in the terms of, like I said, they put comedy in there, they put a little bit of seriousness in there. I thought the match was fine. I didn't feel offended watching the match or anything in that sense, which is one of those things that you worry about when watching these style of matches. Like, am I going to be offended watching this? And at least I wasn't. I think some people were. I think there's kind of a mixed bag of how people felt about this match in general. After the match, as my phone goes off, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that for a moment. There we go. I don't know why I left the phone, at least in terms of it making noise. So we'll get rid of that. So we'll continue on there. After the match, Carmella and Becky Lynch have kind of a war of words. And this eventually leads to Carmella laying out James Ellsworth with a super kick, finishing off that segment. And who knows... And who knows if that's one of those bits that says, oh, Carmella and James Ellsworth are done, or is it just one of those things that she was punishing Ellsworth for not winning, or for whatever he had said, everything to go along with that. Up next, though, you had Shane backstage with Charlotte, and Natalya kind of gets involved in this one as well. So Shane was talking with Charlotte, and Natalya comes in and interrupts, and she says, like, don't worry. I'll take Charlotte. I'll beat Alexa Bliss at the pay-per-view, and then I'll take Charlotte's spot as well on the team. So basically trying to get rid of Charlotte in every way, shape, or form. And this actually led to Shane saying, like, no, that's not the case. That next week, Charlotte is going to face Natalya for the women's title. So, again, we have... And they made matches again. They're leaving this out there that there are potential heavy changes, even though we've seen one and we're gonna get another here in a couple moments. That more changes to the Survivor Series pay-per-view in some way, shape, or form to go along with it. And made that match for next week with the women's title on the line. They also made a U.S. title match as well with Sin Cara and Baron Corbin, so we're finally getting that U.S. title match as well, because they've been playing this whole thing where Sin Cara's been kind of getting the advantage over Baron Corbin, so now it's leading to a title match for next week. I don't think we're going to get a change on that one. The way they've done the promos for Corbin and Miz, I kind of think they're going to stick with that match. I know it's heel versus heel, but they're going to kind of stick with that match. Though I think there is a good chance that we see Charlotte win the title next week over Natalya, and switching their spots where Charlotte goes up against Alexa Bliss and Natalya gets put on Team Smackdown to go along with it. Up next was Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin going up against the Usos. The tag team titles were on the line. This match actually was relatively quick. Shelton Benjamin and Gable win by countout. But it also looked like Jimmy Uso got legitimately injured in this one. It was one of those bits, if it was worked, it was really well worked. but it looked like on a chop block that he got his ankle caught up underneath him, and maybe potentially injured his ankle. Then and they played it off throughout the rest of the bit where he just couldn't stand everything to go along with it. Looking extremely convincing. Hopefully, if it was a real ankle injury, it wasn't a severe enough ankle injury to keep him out of the whole Survivor Series side of everything. Especially with that match, I would like to see the Usos and Sheamus and Cesaro. I think it would be good. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. But like I said, it looked like it could have been legitimate, but it could have also been worked as well. I mean, these guys are supposed to be able to act in that sense, and maybe it was just a really good acting job on Jimmy Uso's part to go along with it. So, like I said, hopefully if it was a real injury, it doesn't keep him out long, because you don't want to see anybody actually. I think a lot of people agree with this one. You don't want to see anyone actually get severely injured in any way, shape, or form. Even though that risk is out there. You don't really want to see it, but you know the potential is there at any given time. So, since I had already talked about the AJ Styles interview on the match with Jinder Mahal, let's just get right into the main event, which was Jinder Mahal against AJ Styles for the WWE title. And this was a good match. I thought there was a little bit of a sloppy spot here or there, but for the most part, this was a very good match. And it had a very good, just like the build. The build and everything going into it. And I mean that during the match. Like, the build-up in the match was really good. It built up, and the drama was building throughout the entire bit here. And like I said, you had what was, I thought, a very good match between Jinder Mahal and AJ Styles. Now, granted, it is AJ Styles. He's one of, if not the best performer in the world in the terms of the wrestling side of everything. And Jinder Mahal has not been bad. And I've even said it on these reviews and everything in that sense as well. I've actually kind of liked the Jinder Mahal title run. I kind of fall on that side. That I kind of like this one. But this match and the outcome, I think, is leading to something better. At least something that people would probably anticipate a little bit more. Who knows if the match will actually be good? Because the end of the match had the Singh brothers start getting involved in some way, shape, or form. So AJ Styles gets outside of the ring and just, first of all, I forget which Singh brother it was, but he basically just charges them and then dives and tackles one of the Singh brothers and starts beating him up a little bit. And then he takes out the other Singh brother to go along with it. Gets in the ring, or gets up on the ring apron. Looks like he's going to go for the phenomenal forearm, but gets caught and hit in the coloss, but he's too close to the ropes. He gets the ropes and stops the count. So you don't get an actual kick out of the coloss or anything. So it looks like Jinder Mahal's going to set up like a super coloss. And it looks like it's getting a little bit awkward or anything up there on there. Eventually, AJ slips off the rope and does one of the hangmans, one of those stunner hangmans on the top rope to Jinder Mahal, and then hits the phenomenal forearm, winning the WWE title. And they changed the graphic and everything, and they're showing it. And I feel like I don't think we're going to get a 1 week thing here. On this one, I think they are going to actually go with Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles, which is a very interesting side of a very interesting thing going into the Survivor Series pay-per-view, especially with as much time as they put into the whole Mahal going up against Brock thing, and now it looks like they're just going to change it. It's like, boom, right there. And like I said, they're playing it off again as a lot of potential changes going into the pay-per-view itself. Like I said, next week they have 2 more title matches announced for Smackdown. Are they going to do something on Raw again as well? Do we get another match with AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal? Are they going to just change it back to Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar? Or are we going to get Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles to go along with it? They are making it feel very unpredictable going into the pay-per-view, which isn't necessarily a bad thing on that side of it. Like I said, you get this unpredictable feel going into the shows. It's like, are we going to get title changes and changes to these matches? Because these particular 4 matches with the titles on the line, or not on the line, but champions versus champions. So right now they have it as Alexa Bliss and Natalya as the women's title versus women's title, but that could change to Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte, which wouldn't be bad either. The tag titles, the tag team match with the Usos going up against, well, minus the fact that hopefully that Jimmy Uso's not severely injured or anything in that sense to go along with it, which that could change as well, going up against Cesaro and Sheamus, which the change just happened on Monday, and it looks like they're going to go that route because you have the New Day interfere, everything in that sense. It makes you just like scream. It's like, give us Shield versus New Day. You have the opportunity. Let's do it, type thing at that point. And then you have the U.S. title versus the Intercontinental title. I think that match is going to stay the same, but they have it up in the air. This whole factor of Sin Cara going up against Baron Corbin next week. And I think Miz keeps the Intercontinental title going in the Survivor Series. But now you have Brock Lesnar going up against AJ Styles. It's a match I want to see. It's a match I'm intrigued to see. I'm probably more intrigued to see that match than I am to see Brock versus Jinder. In that sense. Even though I've been one that's kind of supported the whole Jinder Mahal thing. Not necessarily experiment or anything to go along with that, but the aspect of him getting the title. The only aspect that I have had an issue with was how quickly he got the title. I felt like they needed to build it up more, build him up more going into it, more than what they did. It was kind of like, oh, he won a #1 contendership match. He won the title. Okay. But afterwards, I did definitely like some of the stuff they did with Jinder Mahal on that side of everything. So I felt like they've done something decent with him. I know there are a lot of others that don't necessarily like it. Mainly probably because of how they built him up. Built him up to win the title to begin with, which was like, boom, boom, title. I wish they wouldn't have done that. I wish they would have taken more time to do it. But apparently they didn't want to waste any time on doing something like that. But now we're going to get potentially Brock Lesnar going up against AJ Styles, which I think I'm a little bit more excited to see than the Jinder Mahal Brock Lesnar match to go along with it. Now, does that mean that match is going to be great or anything in that sense? I don't know. I mean, they have the potential of it just being, oh, Brock Lesnar suplex F5 done, or they could do more with it. It depends on what they're going to do with that side of everything. But overall, interesting developments going into Survivor Series. And you've got stuff going into next week as well, as I'm going to get my NXT notes up here, because up next we are going into NXT to go along with everything. So, yeah, interesting developments going into Survivor Series. So, let's go into NXT for not January, but November 8th, 2017, as Smackdown was the 7th. I keep saying January, I don't know why. But November 7th, 2017. NXT this week was pretty good. I did find NXT to be rather enjoyable, though you have some squash matches to go along with it. And there's one massively disappointing thing, because they announced Pete Dunne defending the UK title against Johnny Gargano for NXT TakeOver Houston, but apparently it's a dark match. It's not going to be on the TakeOver show. That I'm massively disappointed on that one. Just massively disappointed that we won't get to see that match on TV at any point. Hopefully it'll be like part of the NXT TV. It won't be a full-on just dark match that only them get to see. Hopefully it gets to be part of the other show to go along with it. But I feel like that match is like, you could just announce that match for any TakeOver, and it's like, yes, I will take that match. I think that would be a good match. But apparently we might not be able to get to see that. So that's a little bit disappointing on that side of it. So heading into NXT this week, they started off the show with Heavy Machinery going up against a couple local guys. Well, locals in this case. I know one of them was from the Cruiserweight Classic. I forget his name off the top of my head. I'm horrible with names to go along with it. So it's somebody we've seen regularly, but he was teaming up with a guy that we don't see regularly. Otis from Heavy Machinery. He's the thicker of the two. He pulled out a worm in this match. These two are very interesting. They seem like they could just be there, like being like heavy fun and everything in that sense. But I'm not 100% certain on that one. I like their gimmick itself, the whole stakes and weights thing. I'm not big on, but I mean they just come off there as like these two big guys for a tag team to go along with it, and that's kind of their whole shtick on that side of everything. I'm not 100% sold on them yet. This is obviously another squash match. Their finishing move, which they call the compactor, looks brutal, especially when they do it with the whole aspect of both guys in the ring. So they have Otis, who will have will hold the one guy, and then the other dude will just will run against the ropes and jump on Otis's back, and then he goes down like in a World's Strongest Slam style to go along with it. And they do it with both guys here, and it just, oh my god, it looks so harsh on all sides to go along with it. It's a good-looking move. We'll leave it at that. It's a very good-looking move. It's very convincing for a finisher, for a tag team finisher on that side of everything. So, this leads us next to Ember Moon going up against. Or not going up against. She had an interview backstage, basically kind of talking a little bit about the Fatal 4-Way and what Mercedes Martinez said about her last week, saying, oh, she can't win the big one, anything in that sense. This eventually leads her to challenging Mercedes Martinez for next week, so we're going to get that match next week. This does lead us into Billie Kay going up against Kairi Sane. This was a decent enough match. They play it off as, you know, Peyton Royce kind of trying to help Billie Kay out a little bit here and there. And Kairi Sane kind of fighting off both of them to go along with it. And which she does end up doing. She does that crazy looking elbow. It is a very nice looking elbow. I'm not going to lie. That top rope elbow she does. They have 3 people right now with top rope elbows. And they all look massively different. You have Bayley who does one, and I think hers is very more Macho Man than all the other ones. Because the other ones do kind of take their own variation into it. I probably, in the terms of the look and everything, hers is probably the least good. Like it looks fine. It looks like the Macho Man elbow, which kind of plays that whole nostalgia. But Kairi Sane's top rope elbow looks great, and Velveteen Dream's top rope elbow, just based off the height he gets. The height that guy gets on there is great as well. This was a decent enough match, like I said. Kairi Sane going over. They weren't going to have her really lose going into it. Though I like how the announcers play it off. That is like, oh, Billie Kay can, by winning here, can either, say it's like, oh, I can face the winner of that match. Or they even put it even in there. It's like, oh, she could potentially say, it's like, oh, I deserve to be in this match now. And take the spot of Kairi Sane or something will go along with that. But you kind of knew Kairi Sane was going over in this match. Up next, you had a couple sets of interviews. First, you had William Regal and Cassius Ohno backstage. Cassius Ohno comes in. It's like, I'm trying to get my hand back into the NXT title picture. I've been getting a lot of wins, especially everything we've done with Hideo Itami, and I feel like I need something for TakeOver. And he challenges, in front of Regal, he challenges Lars Sullivan. He wants Lars Sullivan at NXT TakeOver Houston, which that could be a very good match to go along with that. Both of them extremely hard hitting. A lot of the matches that we had seen with Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan with Lars Sullivan have been that aspect of it, and now you can throw Cassius Ono to go along with that in this match as well. That could be a very good takeover match. It'll be interesting to see. Up next was Selena Vega and Andrade Cien Almas interview. This was pretty much there to basically hype up Almas for his match with Drew McIntyre at the pit. I almost call him Drew Galloway because I kind of got used to that with him at Impact Wrestling and watching a little bit of his stuff with other independent promotions. But him being back in WWE is a more of a he's back to Drew McIntyre, everything in that sense. I thought this was a decent enough, this was a good enough promo. Selena Vega, very good on the mic. Andrade, kind of looking like, I kind of like the more cocky attitude from him. It does come out in that one. And like I said, they were hyping up Almas, and that he is a different Andrade Cien Almas than what we had seen initially here. And yeah, a few people had gotten wins over that one, but they're not going to get wins over this particular Andrade Cien Almas to go along with it. Good enough. A pretty good promo to go along with this. Up next, this leads to Velveteen Dream going up against Cesar Bonatti. This was another squash match with Velveteen Dream going over with a Death Valley Bomb versus that elbow that we were talking with. And actually, that kind of plays off of everything. I mean, you had Kairi Sane doing her insane style elbow, and they decided, it's like, okay, we should go with a different finish here. You don't have two people with diving elbows showing up on the same show, even though both of them have it. So showing versatility and getting a win with a Death Valley Bomb versus his version of the diving elbow. After the match, Velveteen Dream cutting a promo on Aleister Black about their match at the NXT TakeOver show. Actually, good stuff here. Velveteen Dream, this program's been very interesting with how they've done everything. And like the stuff that they did with like Velveteen Dream just showing up behind like horror movie style as well, showing up behind Aleister Black and attacking him from the week before, and even to the point of throughout this entire thing, he plays off the whole flamboyant or coming out there with a little bit more style towards his entrance and everything, but with a very intense, focused look on his face. It's like he wants. He is not happy with the factor that Aleister Black in a promo basically still call him just Patrick Clark, not Velveteen Dream, and he wants him to acknowledge him by not just just about gaining his attention, but also saying his name to go along with it. I feel like that's kind of what we're gonna get. I don't know where they're gonna go with this aspect of that particular match. Is going to be one of those things that this is going to be is this going to be Aleister Black's first loss, everything to go along with that, or are they going to have Aleister Black go over? That's left for predictions, and I'll make that prediction video later on that side of everything. But good stuff. This has been a very good program going into NXT TakeOver Houston, and it's one of the matches I'm looking forward to, especially with the factors of what is happening on that show with the War Games side of everything. Matter of fact, I think they call it NXT TakeOver War Games now to go along with it. Up next, you had basically Ruby Riott and Sonya Deville segment where Ruby Riott was getting an update on her ankle, everything in that sense, and the doctor says like it's still going to be like another week or two before you can get back in the ring. Of course, she looks deflated, but Sonya Deville comes in, basically blames her for losing the match, and challenges her to a match for when she gets back in, or Ruby Riott challenges her to a match when she gets healthy enough to go back in there. So they're playing off as like maybe these are going to be the next two for the NXT Women's title. For the terms of the contenders, everything and that side of it. I thought this is a pretty decent backstage segment to go along with it. You kind of got both of them being extremely intense towards each other and both of them wanting to fight each other to go along with it. I thought it was some pretty good stuff. Up next, you had the Street Profits basically doing what they were doing the week before. They were just backstage having a good old time, talking about how they're going to get people into everything and showing off like how good they're going to be. They have one of the random guys come up. He comes up in like his normal work suit, everything in that sense. They give him like a not a red Solo cup. They make it a black Solo cup on this one, and just telling him to have a good old time, everything in that sense. A guy comes in, and he has Tino Sabatelli's suit. And what was it? Montez Ford. This guy is amazing. He's amazing in the ring. He's pretty good on the mic to go along with it. So he's playing it up that he is Tino Sabatelli, and he gets the dry clean suit, everything in that sense. They take a look at it. They start not mocking it, but they start going off on everything about it, how good it looks, everything to go along with it, which brings Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss in there and basically setting up a match for next week. Moss and Sabatelli not happy with the factor that it's like, oh, they keep going after our stuff, everything to go along with it. And and it is like I said, it's leading to a match for next week. It's not going to be something that's that takeover or anything in that sense. So it should be an interesting one. I'm growing on the Street Profits. I kind of like where they go with everything. The only thing that I don't really get is that whole stirring the pot thing with D'Angelo Dawkins. That one I don't. Or yeah, that is the only thing I don't get is the whole stirring the pot thing. So this leads us to the main event of the night, being Riddick Strong going up against Adam Cole, baby. I'm gonna keep doing that. I don't know why. I do like Adam Cole, and I like where they're going with everything here. Things are looking very interesting going into the NXT TakeOver War Games match with Sanity going up against Strong and the Authors of Pain and the Undisputed Era. This match with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong was a good match. You kind of knew where they were going with this. It was going to end in like a little bit of chaos, which it does end in that way. But you get this whole bit, and I like the aspect that they bring up the fact that Roderick Strong is the Messiah of the Backbreaker, and it's like they don't take away the things that made these people really good in the independent scene. Like Adam Cole does his normal Adam Cole Bebe thing. They didn't take away the name or anything along with it. They bring up the factors of Roderick Strong being the Messiah of the Backbreaker, everything in that sense of it. I thought this match was really good between the two of them. Really brutal looking spot with a backbreaker on the top rope for Roderick Strong to Adam Cole. That was a really brutal looking one. It ends basically in Strong winning this match by DQ by Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish coming out and dragging him out of the ring. They call for the bell right off the bat. This does bring out the Authors of Pain and then eventually Sanity to go along with it, which leads to all 9 of them just brawling going into this match. And they had a video package as well, kind of, and I like the aspect that they talk about in that video package as well. Like you had Arn Anderson talking about it, everything to go along with it, with the War Games match, because we haven't seen a War Games match since WCW. WWE never did it, at least not the style of War Games that they had done. I mean, we're gonna get the 2 rings, we're gonna get the 1 cage, we're getting all that stuff, so they're bringing back a classic match. And it's fitting for it to be in NXT because Triple H is kind of more involved in that one, and he loves the War Games match. I think there's been rumor that he had been trying for years and years and years for Vince to do it on the main roster. But now he kind of has that ability to do it here because he's, taking control of that one, and he kind of runs the ship without Vince necessarily doing it. He probably has to get certain things approved, which he probably got this one approved to go along with it. But I'm going to be interested to see this War Games match. I haven't seen one in so long. I think the last one I watched was the one where Kurt Hennig turned on the 4 Horsemen and joining the NWO. at that point in time. I think that was 96 or 97. It might have been 98 as well. I'm not 100% certain on that one. I forget off the top of my head what year that was. But I had watched that one, and that's the last one I had seen. I know they had done other variations, like with the triple cage and everything in that sense, but it wasn't the same. But with this particular brawl, I like how this one goes. So it looked like somebody was going to gain control with this brawl. But it eventually led to Roderick Strong superplexing Adam Cole onto everybody on the outside, and everybody was left lying. So they left it where, like, no one was in real control of the situation afterwards. And then, like I said, they were leaving it as chaos, and like they were trying to bring it as this whole thing of that they need this cage. They need this cage to contain this brutality, this everything to go along with it. And I'm liking where they're going with this one. Like I said, I'm going to leave it for the predictions video where I think this match is going to go. I think I can see where they're going with everything on this. But we'll see how everything plays off at the actual NXT TakeOver. And I'm going to be doing a predictions video for that next week. For TakeOver, for Survivor Series. It's going to be a strong work week in the terms of work not only here, but at my job as well. So it might be a little bit hard to pull that one off, but we'll see how everything plays off. Those ones I probably won't do live, the prediction videos, but I will definitely try to record those and get those done in a timely manner and get those out to you guys next week. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. There's not much more to really say about this week with NXT. Any other news? I guess I could check real quick on some of the websites to see if any more news has come out on that sense. But, like, we talked about Owens and Zayn. We talked about the aspect of the Bludgeon Brothers, the changes that have been going to Survivor Series as well. Let's see if anything's come up. Let's see. Okay, so alright. The only thing, they've announced something for Raw, a triple threat match with Bayley, Dana Brooke, and Mickie James to determine the final competitor and the final team member for Team Raw's women's team. Otherwise, yeah, nothing's really come up in the terms of at least WWE side of everything. So yeah, we pretty much talked about everything on that side of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We kind of had to restart everything. Like, I've got to do a little bit of video editing to go along with it on that one. So we'll have that come up here very soon. Again, guys, I thank you guys for tuning in. We will, like I said, I'm going to try to go back to the old style of it. I'm not going to always do this whole Raw, Smackdown, NXT as one big video. I'm going to probably still go back to the whole aspect of it, but I felt like this week it kind of needed to change up. Like I said, I've been lacking a little bit of motivation in the side of getting these videos done as of late. So when you lack motivation, you change things up. That's what you do. That's things you do right then and there. So with that being said, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. If you really like it this way, then maybe we can keep it this way from here on in. But I'm probably going to go back to the separate videos for Raw, NXT, and for SmackDown as well. And like I said, we've also got to be bringing up the whole aspect of potentially bringing in a fourth review. And is it going to be me going back to Impact Wrestling? Am I going to go to Ring of Honor? Or I need to check in to see if New Japan does a weekly show. Maybe I do the weekly show or something in that sense. I don't know on that side of it. But we'll be starting to bring... I think I'm going to bring a fourth review back in here very soon for you guys. And we'll see how everything plays off. Again, I thank everybody for tuning in. And have a great rest of your day.